The New England Patriots go into this season believing they have their QB of the future, but now have to surround him with the weapons necessary to avoid stunting his growth. They bring in veteran Stephon Diggs off of an ACL tear, and Matt Collins, who just had a career high in touchdowns last season, as well as returning 4 of their 5 leading receivers from last year in Hunter Henry, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte, and Kendrick Bourne. They also took steps to bolster an O-line that was 26th in sacks allowed last year by drafting Will Campbell 4th overall and bringing in Morgan Moses in free agency. Moses did just post the lowest I believe the second lowest PFF grade of his career, but in 3 of the previous 4 seasons, he's finished with a grade of 78 or better. So the Patriots are hoping that he has another year or 2 left in the tank. And then on the defensive side of the ball, the Patriots bring in new starters in Milton Williams, Harold Landry III, Robert Spillane, and Carlton Davis III. To pair with returning stars Jabril Peppers and Christian Gonzalez. So we'll start with the offense, and then we'll move to the defensive later. I want to ask, what improvements do y'all... sorry.
You flipped that.
Yeah.
You want to start
Let's
with the
start
defense.
with the defense, and then we'll get to the offense in a second. What improvements do y'all expect to see from a defense that was 21st in points per game and 31st in yards per game last year?
You want it?
Yeah, as a known expert in the NFL, I don't necessarily know how much like true talent I feel like they brought in terms of like splashes. They did add some pieces. I'm not saying those guys are nobodies. But I also like the Vrabel fit and also the Vrabel fit with these guys. I think they're guys that can help him establish his identity. So even if they're not the biggest names, they didn't go get a Joey Bosa like the Bills or something like that. But they brought in guys that can kind of help shore up this group. So I expect it to improve, right? The question is, it was a very bad defense last year. So, like, do they improve from 31st in yards per game to 25th in yards per game? And is that enough for them to kind of make the flip some people think they will make or something like that?
Yeah. I think they're quickly going to be a top half defense in the league. And a large part of that is Mike Vrabel, but I think with the money that they had to spend, they spent it very well, especially acquiring talent defensively. And part of it, yes, is they were kind of throwing money at guys and guys that are getting a little overpaid, but they're adding the pieces to allow, like you said, Jack, Mike Vrabel to kind of build his identity and play out his identity. And while they're not splash names, Harold Landry has been productive in seasons. Carlton Davis has had productive seasons. Spillane is really a leadership role.
Sure.
At linebacker for New England, and he was that with the Raiders. He was a captain every single year in Las Vegas. So I think he'll quickly probably be a captain on this defense, and that's huge from a leadership perspective. And Milton Williams got paid because he was good in the Super Bowl, but he is, I think, going to be decently productive for them. And then I thought they already had good enough weapons defensively. They just couldn't get it done defensively, and just it was kind of an uncharacteristic season for New England. Gerard Mayo kind of just didn't do well enough coaching that defense, and they have the pieces there. Christian Gonzalez is elite in my eyes, and I think Jabril Peppers and Kyle Duggar are really, really good in terms of a safety duo. And this is a team that's going to rely a ton on their defense. They're going to have to be the engine of the team for me. I don't think Drake May is there yet to take that step, but we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
But the defense, I think, is going to be top half of the league immediately. I think they're that good. And they're going to be in spots throughout the season where they're not necessarily playing elite quarterbacks. They'll play Josh Allen twice, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. But outside of that, they really play kind of run-of-the-mill quarterbacks.
Sure.
In some eyes, for people, that would be Geno Smith, but they'll play Tua twice. They'll play Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, whoever the hell comes out of New Orleans and plays quarterback. Rookies in Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. You have Penix in his year 2. Baker has a chance to kind of cook them, but they will still play Jackson Dart later on in the season. So I think defensively, that on top of the fact of the weapons that they brought in, that's why I see them as a top half league defense and even potentially top 10 because of the teams that they'll play.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a defensive-led team, and that is kind of how Mike Vrabel was.
They have to be a defensive-led team.
It was heavy running the ball, but it was a defensive team that ran the ball and played off of play action. And Vrabel has been successful, and he was very successful in Tennessee with
Yeah.
Not a star quarterback in Ryan Tannehill, Gig'em.
Gig'em,
But-
Aggie legend, came into A&M as a wide receiver.
Correct. And he kind of had a resurgence with Tennessee. I think a large part of that was not only his play, but Vrabel and that system and that team.
Yep.
And we'll see if that's something that they can reproduce in New England. And then if New England can get back on their feet and really kind of become a powerhouse in the division again.
Sure.
Yeah.
I do want to, real quick, before we move on to your next question, or you address
You
it,
good?
Sanders. Kind of just like, I feel like I dogged on their additions just because I was trying to emphasize they didn't make any splashes, but they did add like players that you can trust to play snaps and do their jobs and start on teams in this league. So I feel like I came across too harsh, and I wanted to kind of, push back on my own words a little bit.
Yeah. And now you gotta. Yeah, I was gonna say something about Christian Wilkins, but there's nothing known about where he's gonna go yet. That's kind of the sad thing is like.
I mean, Vrabel came out today and was like, "We'll look at it."
Yeah.
And he's a guy I believe was a Patriots fan as a kid.
Yeah.
But it is.
That's just the kind of move that could really change. Not really change, but makes an impact. It would have been nice to know for whoever we were previewing. So I'll be really interested to see where he ends up.
Me too.
I may have to go back and change some of my predictions when that happens.
There's so many hoops to
You
jump
think
through, though,
Christian Wilkins moves that much of the needle?
because
He's
I
not
think
even guaranteed to play.
he's hurt.
That is
The
true.
Raiders cut him
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
he
wasn't.
didn't want to get surgery. So like he may not pass physicals. Like
Yeah, that's
there's a lot of hoops to jump through. In theory, though, you are right, a very impactful player, but there's just a lot of ground to cover before he gets to that point where he can make an impact.
Yeah.
So.
On the offensive side of the ball, we talked. I mean, JP said he thinks this has to this team is gonna have to run on the defense, rely on the defense. But and y'all are allowed to make fun of me for this. What do y'all think about the weapons on the offensive side of the ball? I'm gonna go ahead and preface it and say for viewers who are newer, when Stephon Diggs signed with them, was traded to them. I don't even remember. Signed. I was like, guys, once again. It was the middle of basketball season, and I was ready to talk about football. I was like, "Guy, can we talk about this on the show?" And they were both like, "No, that's stupid." And I was like, "But this is a big deal." Actually, no, that's not. I tweeted something on the Technical Fowl account.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "The Patriots make a huge addition to Stephon Diggs," and JP texted and was like, "We may have to take away admin's login or something."
It was early days. You were trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
so.
I was trying to figure out how to run an administrative account or whatever. But I think Stephon Diggs could be a good piece to that wide receiver room. I do not think. I mean, he did have over 1,000 yards just like 2 years ago in Buffalo. So, and I was trying to do some research on the other wide receivers that have had ACL tears in their late 20s, early 30s, because he's 31, I believe.
Mm-hmm. He'll turn 32 this season.
And the only one I could find was Jerry Rice, who tore his at like 35, but I was not able to compare Stephon Diggs to Jerry Rice. So, but I will say this, torn ACLs are becoming more and more insignificant. Not to say, I'm not saying that Stephon Diggs is going to come back and play like 27-year-old him or 26-year-old him, but I do think he can come back and have 800 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns.
I mean, he has every chance to be on this team,
Yeah.
right? Like, and even a guy I feel like has been annoyed by his role in offenses before and has kind of quit on teams because of that, or thrown hissy fits because of that. That shouldn't be the case here because he is wide receiver one on this team. If he can get open, he will have stuff schemed for him. He will be a focal point in this offense, which also is a scary point, though. I will say, going back to his ACL tear and stuff, is like, if he's the guy that every team is watching out for and he's lost a step, he's going to struggle.
Yeah.
But I don't really know what to expect for him. And going back to your overall question, I don't love the weapons that they've surrounded Drake May with. I don't think there's anything special here. They've given him 0 people to just lean on as a young quarterback. There's no safety valve.
Oh, he's got Hunter Henry as a safety valve.
You're right, Hunter. Yeah, JP's favorite player, Hunter Henry, safety valve.
He is a safety valve.
I mean, he's a consistent guy, but I'm just like, who's going to go make plays
Yeah,
for Drake
that's
May
fair.
when the going is tough?
That's fair.
Last thing I'll say about the weapons, I do love TreVeyon Henderson, the pick of TreVeyon Henderson. I think he's someone that'll make an impact first year.
Mm-hmm.
someone I'd potentially look for as a fantasy asset. Even though he's just a rookie, I think he could get some run, and he's someone I'm excited about. But it's just not a group that excites me at all.
I think it's an offense that's a year behind potentially being something, but this is an offense where there's a ton of questions. Like Stephon Diggs is the weapon, right, when it comes to receiving. He's at training camp. He's fully healthy. They say, although he did get dusted by that puppy. I don't know if you've seen that.
I did
clip.
see that.
He got dusted by the puppy.
Yeah, ankles were snatched.
Yeah, kind of a bad look for Stephon, but Travion Henderson, like Jack said, I think is going to be a really good weapon for them. Offensive line, I hope, is better. Like Garrett Bradbury didn't have a productive season from a PFF grade, but I do think he is one of the better centers in the league. And then Morgan Moses, hopefully the fact that he's not wearing New York Jets green can allow him to return to what he was in Carolina. And Mike Owenu, I'm just terrible with names. And on the right guard, I think is someone that could potentially play better for them as well. I think their grades are going to be better by themselves because this is going to be a team that's going to run the ball a ton with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. And I think with Will Campbell leading that offensive line with the things that he's kind of said in his leading up to starting the season, I think this is an offensive line that's actually going to be very good in my eyes. And I hope they play really good for Drake May's sake because May already is kind of under health questions. He had 2 concussions last season in his rookie season, and he didn't even start the year. And so you already have started that clock of how many concussions is too much. When are you going to have to stop this? You know, I would hope Vrabel, and a big part of this offseason is coaching him and forcing him to protect himself because he is talented enough to be a starting quarterback in New England for many years. But if he's going to continue to just put himself in harm's way, which he did last season, he's going to shorten his career very, very quickly. In the draft, all of those weapons were right there to help the offense. And then with Stephon Diggs and Bradbury and Moses, I think they knew that this was a huge question offensively, and I think they've added good pieces, but I don't expect these pieces to necessarily be enough for them until next year.
Yeah.
I think with another offseason and another draft and another free agency run, and then maybe you see some growth from some players like in the wide receiver room, like they're considering cutting Jalen Polk.
Yeah, who was a second rounder last year.
Yeah, the second round pick
Hurts
for them last year.
Hurts my soul, man.
Kayshon Boutte is considering being cut as well, and it's just that's his name.
It's Boutte.
It's Boutte. Good
It
try,
is
though.
not.
I mean, it fits in the scenario if he's going to be cut.
They're not going to cut Kayshon Boutte. I don't think.
There's a chance. Like that is
Now you're just
part
like
of the discussion.
You're just like saying Booty fancy.
They have outside of Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins,
Boutte.
all of those guys are not necessarily guaranteed to be there in the wide receiver room, and it's not even like, oh, they're not going to get cut. It's, well, yeah, they're not even that good so far, and I think that's a larger part of the conversation. So, Kyla Williams, their second round pick out of Washington State, I think they hope their third round pick. They hope for him to be productive for them as well this season, but they're going to need to see kind of growth from this wide receiver group and this offense specifically before I say that this is the offense that leads this team. I think defense is a huge part of the team this season.
Yeah, I think it's very fair, and I think Sanders is probably applauding their team-building tactics here / order in terms of their building up that offensive line and then probably looking to get the skill position players in the future.
Yeah.
I know that's something you've talked about a lot. So.
Yeah, I've talked about specifically offensive line in relation to quarterback because then you avoid your rookie quarterback having 2 concussions in his first season. That's what me and Tucker were harping on going into the draft with Cam Ward. I was going to talk, JP kind of took the words out of my mouth talking about that wide receiver room. They're starting 2 2023 picks. They've also got 2 2024 picks. They just drafted a guy. Like, talking about it them being a season away, I think you're 100% correct because that wide receiver room is so young. There's a chance that a guy breaks out this year and then you go into 2026 and you have a 27-year-old Stephon Diggs kind of guy or a Tyreek Hill kind of guy. So, or not maybe not a Justin Jefferson because he's that elite.
But I would even say that's too high because those were receivers that were top 3 in the league when they were at those ages.
Right.
They just need someone who would be an 83 overall in Madden. Like, they need those kind of weapons. Right now they have a bunch of guys that would be 75, 74, 73.
They would love you in like a Khalil Shakir or someone like that.
Exactly.
They'd be ecstatic.
They need something that can be a targeted guy for Drake May, and more. A huge part is like a guy who can get open. And I don't think necessarily any of these guys are guys that are going to get open consistently, and so I think they're going to rely heavily on ground game, Hunter Henry, and play action pass, which is part of the course for what Mike Vrabel did in Tennessee.
Yeah,
it's not necessarily a huge surprise there, but it is how the team is built as well, that they're going to be kind of forced to play that way unless Drake May really just kind of sees a year or two just extreme leap.
Yeah.
And he has a season like Jaden Daniels had last year.
but even like Jaden Daniels had better weapons than Drake May does.
And
True.
Agreed, yes.
I mean, if the
Does
Patriots had a Terry McLaurin,
I'd be feeling a lot better about
I think my picks, that Terry McLaurin on this offense is probably worth 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 extra wins on their schedule. My last question before we get into the actual schedule and our predictions is we've kind of normalized what the 2021 Bengals did and what the 2023 Texans did, going from 4th to 1st in a division. I think that with the Bills in this division, that's not a possibility for the Patriots. But could we see a similar jump from the Patriots, where while they are not going to be able to, I don't think they're going to be able to beat the Bills for the division. Are they at least going to be able to compete and win 10 or 11 games?
Yes, I
Is
think,
there a world where that happens?
Oh, in fact, I would bet them to potentially win 10 or 11 games. I did not do that, but I would. I think you'd get really good odds on that, and it's a schedule thing for them largely.
Yeah.
That was what our Patriots fan told me, was that the opening schedule to start the season is really easy, and he didn't really realize it until he looked at it. And he expects big things from them. In fact, he has them going 8-1 to start the season, and it's because of the schedule. If you look at the teams that they're playing Geno in his first year in Las Vegas, and Pete Carroll fly across the country to play him. They go to Miami. They host Aaron Rodgers very early on. Bryce Young has to come up there. They go to New Orleans. They go to Tennessee. They play Cleveland in all of those games. And Atlanta has to come up to New England, 28-3. It's a schedule that I think is very workable, where double-digit wins is it almost would be expected for them.
Yeah.
I am kind of concerned, and now I haven't necessarily picked that from a wins-loss perspective. I'm concerned that maybe this is the team of this year where it's like, oh, everyone's kind of high on them, and then they drop the bag.
Yeah.
Drake May doesn't play well. Obviously, injuries are always a part of that, but all of these signings,
You realize you have 3 wide receiver 3s.
like we said, all of these signings are not splash moves, and they're going to be a defense and an offense that is really a sum of its parts kind of defense and offense. And if the sum doesn't reach a high enough number, they're not necessarily going to be that good, and they're going to lose these games to these teams that they think they're better than, and their fans think they're better than, like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Carolina Panthers and the Raiders, and losing games to the teams in New York with the Jets and Giants on their schedule. Or even look at the worst teams like New Orleans and Tennessee and Cleveland. If the sum of its parts is not large enough, they're going to be in these games where they could potentially lose them. And so that's my concern for the Patriots is, are they that team that everyone is high on after a bad season, that they think they've made the right moves, but they really haven't made any big enough moves to move the needle as much as a lot of people are predicting them to do?
Sure. I think that's very fair. It was something I was about to bring up, is I was like, I feel like this may be a ha-ha get pranked team, because literally everyone is on board with this, largely because of what you said. That schedule really is so freaking easy. It's the classic. Everyone looks for one team a year to make that 4th to playoff jump, or, 4th to at least playoff contention jump. and this is the team everyone's landed on this year. And I mean, looking at our records, we all agree with that. So it almost does, it'll be a group like, I don't know, a group L from us, from other media members,
Be a
from
group,
fans of the
everybody
team.
else,
Everyone will be like, well, we got that one wrong.
Yeah. We shall see. We all have them going 9-8. Yeah, and then our fan has them going 11-6. Once again, we all kind of were right on, or not right on in accuracy, but we were all around the same. We all have them start the first 5 games. This goes win against Las Vegas, loss on the road at Miami, beat Pittsburgh and Carolina at home, and then lose on the road to Buffalo. So we're all on the same page, even if we are not all right. So we're in this together. I'll be interested to see. JP, Jack, do y'all have a game or a sequence that stands out specifically as impactful?
I mean, JP walked through it, and I think you can, the schedule as a whole, and you can see it with our fans' picks, but it's a pretty easy start to that schedule.
Yeah.
The first 9 games matter a ton. Getting off to that hot start. For me, it's 3 straight weeks on the road: Buffalo, New Orleans, and Tennessee. The Buffalo game you don't expect to win, and that one is going to be on Monday night or Sunday Night Football. But the other 2, like New Orleans and Tennessee, those are games that can determine whether or not this team makes the postseason. And if they can pick up road wins, a road win in the NFL is a good win because the NFL is an any given Sunday league, and even the bad teams can beat you, especially when they got home field in some cases. So I think those are huge. Those are 2 huge games, and the Miami game might be included in that. I'll be curious to see how they play in the heat. And New England has not fared well in Miami really ever. But the New Orleans-Tennessee game, I really look forward to see if this is a team that's going to make the postseason, they have to win both of those games.
Yeah. I actually like that point about on the road, and I want to add to it, too. It's something that happened with the Commanders last year a little bit, was like, people will be like, oh, you haven't beat anyone good, go beat somebody, right? And then we end up beating Philly, and we beat a couple good teams in the playoffs, and it's like, look, we aren't this fluke team, we're actually a good team. So if they really want to make a statement and say, hey, this isn't about an easy schedule, we're here to play, we can compete, go beat one of the couple good teams on your schedule. Go make a statement at Baltimore, Buffalo, something like that. I know those are tough wins, even at Cincinnati. Like, go win a tough game and kind of show that y'all are for real.
Yeah, I think the big one immediately for Washington last season was winning at Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Like that started a huge swing of momentum for them as they went on throughout the season, and they will have those opportunities this season with Buffalo, Cincinnati, Baltimore, even the Tampa Bay game.
No, for real.
Is one where if they could pick that up, that's a lot of momentum for the team. We have them all at 9-8. That puts us at having them at 10-7 as a group. So this will be, for all of us, it's our second best team in the division.
Yeah.
We had the Bills winning the division, and we have New England finishing second. We'll be curious to see if those are good enough to make the postseason. I can tell you, for me, it is more than likely good enough to make the postseason, or just a game outside. And for the other guys, I'm sure it's about right there. At 9-8 is either you're a game out or you're just barely in, winning a tiebreaker. So